Everyone loved it.
That's true. Everyone loved it.
So, and this is the thing, by the way, Doctor Who is at its highest for budget, right? Right now?
It's certainly in terms of its highest for like the production value. I don't know if that's a higher budget or it's just being used more effectively.
Hmm.
But it certainly looks more, I guess, realistic than it ever has before.
Well, wouldn't it have been neat if Tom Baker's era got to have all that money and technology? Maybe it wouldn't. Maybe it would make it worse somehow. Ever thought
That
about
probably
that,
would have
Jay?
been neat.
You reckon they should re-release the older ones but remastered with new CGI? Don't you think that would look great?
I hate that I know specifically what you're referencing.
I think everybody does, don't they?
Not me.
Matt, have you seen the Day of the Daleks remaster?
Is that the second Doctor like animation?
It's the third. It's the third Doctor.
The third.
It's the one.
They've done one on the second, haven't they?
They've done animations one.
Yeah.
Animation. I'm good with the animations, like recreating stuff that's got missing footage. That's great.
Mm.
What I don't like is injecting loads of CGI in like in places where it clearly just was never intended for that to just be a special effect.
Oh, I see. Sorry. So it's more like a restoration.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Oh, yeah. No, I don't like that. I like the idea of like the missing episodes because that's the only way you can ultimately see it now.
Seen some of that stuff for the old
I- I-
the original
I
series
like-
Star Trek.
I like when they update effects that they clearly like. I'm fine with them updating effects in old stuff that like maybe the technology or the budget wasn't up to doing it then, but now it's much easier to do what they were trying to do. So you can just add it like clearly what they were going for. I'm fine with that. Just adding loads of extra stuff is where I'm like, why are you doing this?
Stop it.
Yeah. Yeah, like in the original, the original trilogy, they had the Aurebesh from the prequels.
Yeah.
7 editions. I think
Yeah,
that's like
that kind of
an
thing.
example of a good change. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. For more consistency, it's good. And then when you've got in the original trilogies, just adding loads of CGI creatures that were never there to begin with, that don't really fit the original visual style.
It's like the Aurebesh is a subtle change that ties it all together. Whereas like the big, you know, that when they zoom past in Mos Eisley and that big monster like jumps up, it's like all completely obviously new footage, and then it cuts back to the old footage. It's really jarring.
Yeah.
Or like the new song they added in Return of the Jedi?
Yeah.
I know a lot of people prefer that song. So
Well, I like how the song sounds. I just don't like the scene.
I kind of like the goofiness of it, just because I think when they inject that kind of stuff in, it makes it feel like a little bit like the prequels, like as if it is all one universe.
It just feels sort of like, oh, it's a prequel scene, and now back to the original trilogy.
I hope they update the sequel trilogy one day with new writing. They'll just inject different scenes.
Just if they CGI in a new script.
Everybody's mouth moves, but like all different words are coming out, and so it has to just rewrite.
CGS, computer generated script.
I think the saddest thing about Rise of Skywalker is if it had just been like, let's say, pushed back a couple of months, it would have strayed into pandemic time, and then it still wouldn't have come out. And who knows, they could have like rewritten it in that time. Like Mission Impossible is getting like some added time, and they're sort of going through the scripts. I think that's ultimately going to be better for it. Oh, well, you'd hope so, right?
You'd hope so.
The people who write those movies, they don't
honestly,
know what a good script is to write.
At the point we were getting Rise of Skywalker, I think the best thing to hope for was a film that was just funny.
I think it was funny. I laughed.
Yeah, no, that's why I'm saying, like, would it have been good if they rewrote it? Because ultimately, what we could have got could have been not as funny.
I remember when she blew up Chewie in the transporter. I laughed in the cinema.
I
I just hate how every single like point of tension just gets undone like a scene later. Like, sure, Chewbacca dying is pretty lame, but let's commit to it. You've done it now. Oh no, wait, the next scene. Oh, we've got this prisoner on board. Guess who it is?
I don't want Chewbacca to die. I feel like he's a victim of these movies.
he should be allowed to survive.
He's being held hostage.
Like, why was there no Kylo Ren Chewbacca scene? He's like his dog, isn't he?
Well, and he shot him, but there's nothing to be like, hey man, you shot me. He's like, yeah, you killed Han Solo, you bitch.
Have you guys seen the little fan comic where it shows the scene where Chewie shoots Kylo after he kills Han?
Yeah, I've seen it.
And it shows like Chewie aiming his bowcaster at Kylo, and then it like shows flashbacks with Chewie of like him playing with Kylo as a child, and Chewie like decides to like shoot him in the gut rather than the head. And it's
Mhm.
like,
Yeah.
damn, that's more character than was in the film.
That's more
Like,
than anything we got in the sequels. It's like, whoa.
But yeah, because the sequel trilogy thinks he's just a chauffeur for characters, not that he's
Yeah.
like a war hero and a character and stuff.
Yeah,
he
well,
doesn't
yeah,
to me,
Chewie
how
gets
would he
hard
have a
done by.
character without words. That doesn't make sense.
I wish all of the sequel characters didn't have words.
It's true.
I also think where's Kylo Ren's scene with Lando? Like, I think it would have been cool to say like, oh, Han Solo, his dad failed, but his kind of like surrogate uncle, because like surely he would have known him growing up, right?
Yeah.
Like if Lando actually spoke to Kylo Ren and it was Lando that actually managed to sort of like just give him that little detail to maybe redeem him, I think would have been cool. Or even Chewbacca. Do you know what I mean? Like they're the two that surely had like a big part in
No,
his
he has to
upbringing.
kiss Rey. They shared so much. And now...
I actually don't mind them sort of having a little coming of age, awkward virgin love story across the sequel trilogy.
But that's not.
I don't know, but well, you know what? Each to their own. You like tea, some people like coffee. You know that's the way of the world. It's beautiful, really.
I think the beautiful thing is, no matter where you fall on the sequel trilogy, like I think most people are kind of united in hating Rise of Skywalker. So they set out to do what they wanted to do. They wanted to unite the fan base with the last movie, and they did.
Well, funnily enough, the first time I think you came up on our podcast here was that we were covering someone who was defending Rise of Skywalker as a very, very good movie, and they brought your channel up, and they said that you, by shitting on that movie, have committed to a horror in a way. I believe their argument was that the more misinformation and hatred you spread to that movie, the less like exposure it will get, and the more lies people will believe about its inconsistent writing. And they showed their comment section with you, back and forth thing, and they were trying to sell it as though you were being very harsh and unfair, and that they were being nothing but civil. We read through them, and we were like, good God, this guy's a psycho. Like, he's obsessed with you, and he's like, you're wrong about everything.
I actually checked that out because someone in my comments, it was like a year ago, right? Someone was like, oh, you're on the latest EFAP. And obviously I'm thinking, oh no, like someone's tearing apart my video. So I go to log on and it turns out it's someone else critiquing my video and you guys are actually critiquing his video and you're actually kind of defending me. And I thought it was like just funny to watch like this guy unravel. I think he said things like wasn't he like arguing with me in the comments?
Yeah.
And I was kind of just like, well, you know, like it's up to you, kind of thing. And like I think he wasn't getting the reaction out of me that he wanted.
Yeah.
So he kept pushing. I think that was the guy, right?
Yeah, and the funny thing is, with us, we'll be a lot more harsh. But I think you were just like, yeah, I mean, if you like the movie, that's fine. Then he was like, no, you must correct the record. You've said things about the movie that are unacceptable. Which, by the way, out of the sequel trilogy, honestly, Rise of Skywalker is the one that kind of baffles me in terms of like, oh wow, people love that one. Like I can get
Yeah,
TFA.
I don't.
Yeah,
I don't get how people like it.
It's such a crazy movie. I was like, all right, well.
It's so shamelessly corporate and made by committee at every turn.
And it's such a jumbled mess, and like it's way more about this weird plot than it is about the characters. Like this first thing.
Look, it's Lando. Look, there. Look, you saw him. You saw it was Lando. Did
Oh
you
my
see
God,
it?
it's Palpatine. You remember him? He exploded twice, but
Oh my
that's
God.
okay. He's back. But now we can fight him again. Isn't that fun?
Remember
We had
gave
fun
him-
the first time.
You give him the big suck, and then he like attacked the entire fleet with his electric flumes. He's like, everything is cranking up so much. He's got 100,000 Star Destroyers, spaceships that can't figure out how to go up.
Zippity zappity.
Oh, it's gonna be
Palpatine coming
hard.
back is so bad as well. Like, it annoys me to no end that it undercuts Anakin's ending.
Well, you have to understand the dead speak, and
Well, you have to
In
understand
Fortnite.
that Anakin was just a setup for the real chosen one hero, who was Rey Skywalker. It wasn't actually Anakin.
yeah, didn't they have Hayden Christensen say something like "succeed where I failed" or something like that?
It was like, I've
Is it
restored the
bring
balance
balance
once,
to the
you can do it
force like
again.
I did, or something like that?
Yeah.
But I was like, but you didn't, because we're
Bring
like
balance
doing all
like
this
as I
bullshit.
did.
He didn't do that.
You didn't do that. That's why we're here.
That's why it's annoying. Because you're like, Return of the Jedi, the Emperor falls down that hole, and then he slips out through a little compartment in his little dinky ship and escapes. Or, he did die, but there was another Emperor on a different planet, so we still don't really know exactly what the answer to that one is. That was a fun
I love the
time.
idea of audiences in 1983 watching this villain fall down like an impossible chasm and then literally explode. And then the thing he's on explodes as well. And J.J. Abrams thought, yeah, he's coming back.
Did you know that scene after the Death Star blows up? It wants the end? Question mark.
Question mark.
The
Whoa.
end. Tune in next decade to find out.
Who truly knows if this is truly the end? Interesting.
Can his atoms doubly reassemble?
Like,
I know.
and bringing him back to life is just an open admission. We don't care.
We don't care. Fuck it. It does. Nothing matters. You
Well-
like Palpatine, right? Watch our movie.
They would bring him back again if they knew it would be the biggest source of money. Like, if they knew it was a guaranteed thing.
Yeah, they don't give a fuck.
Be like, well, you see, none of the people you've seen so far are the real Palpatine.
Turns out that was just a clone of the real Palpatine. And then in
Palpatine hasn't
2040,
actually appeared in
they'll be
Star
like,
Wars
"Oh,
yet.
He's still... Well, what if there's just the multiverse? There you go.
Oh, that might
Pal-
be what they do.
Palpatine is Star Wars' king."
Oh, you know what? There we go. We're slotting right in. Beautiful. So then, relatively recently, the MCU's been moving right along, and it's like, you know what? Star Wars, that ain't our thing anymore. Disney's like, we're gonna focus on the MCU for a while, even though Star Wars is making a
We're
comeback
gonna
soon
ruin
enough.
something else for a while.
So I don't know if I haven't seen all of your coverage on everything, but we here at EFAP really didn't like WandaVision, Falcon the Winter Soldier, or Loki. We kind of hated all of them, and we've got extensive discussions on all of them. It's not just casual or anything. We went through all the episodes, and there's stuff we like, but oh boy, there was lots of stuff we didn't like. And of course, when we finished Loki, we were like, oh man, we should cover someone who likes Loki. And then someone was like, well, the Full Fat Videos guy, he reckons that Loki's not only good, but it's what Doctor Who should probably aspire to be at this point. It's like a fix in a way. And I was like, no way. And so we covered your video, and that catches us up pretty much to now. I guess we should probably talk about Loki a little bit. Like, I'm curious. The thing I found super interesting about your video was you didn't like the Doctor's history was retconned, right?
With the Timeless Child.
Yeah.
Yeah, no.
So, well, I don't know how to really connect. They're not really the same thing, but I would imagine it could cause the same frustration. But we're gonna have a different sort of POV on this. But like, one of my biggest issues with the show is that we're not watching Loki. This is a completely different guy who doesn't even remotely match what I understand to be Loki's characteristics.
Yeah, they put him on a super fast track to a complete, basically reversal in character in the first episode.
I think if you've watched Avengers 2012, at least relatively recently, he's quite obviously Joss Whedon built him to be the threatening villain in that film because that is his role, and that means he says and does a lot of things that are quite like, ooh, oh boy.
Horribly evil.
Yeah, and so
yeah.
if you need to transpose him into a plucky protagonist who is kind of like heroic in a TV show, and you need to do it fast, I can see why they made the choices they did, but at the same time, I think they're terrible, and I suppose that'll be the first thing I wouldn't mind talking to you about. How do you feel?
Well, I actually don't subscribe to this theory because I think it's really weak, but there was like a slight retconning of the original Avengers more recently. I think it was in like a companion book. It sort of implied that the Mind Stone was actually influencing Loki, and that like once that was free of him, that's why like in the later movies he's not as evil. And that's just like takes away all of his autonomy.
Talking about taking away autonomy.
He never had autonomy. He never had autonomy, mate.
You know, that'll be topic 2. That's fine. So
We'll get to that.
Yeah, I hate that idea because it's so thoroughly enforced by Thor 1 and Avengers. Like his motivation, every action he takes is very thoroughly explained. There's no, you know, it was the Mind Stone. Really? Yeah, that's what it was.
No,
like,
it's never implied at all. And like I really like his arc from Thor to Avengers to Dark World. I do think like post that. Do you know what I mean? Like he's a fun character in kind of like a scene. Like if there's some hijinks going on. Like I liked when he meets Doctor Strange and stuff. But I found more often than not we've sort of done the most interesting things we could do with that character up until when he gets killed by Thanos.
Yeah.
And of course, people would cite that he was pretty evil before he even got in contact with the Mind Stone, right? Like some of the stuff he did in Asgard when he was at his low point. Not only condemning Thor to be banned from Asgard, but also essentially like baiting the death of Odin and then backstabbing the frost giants to come across as though he's a savior. It's like these things are they're not becoming of an honest or a good person. And then Avengers just doubles down, like he does a shit ton more. Like obviously it seemed like that was the idea when he's dropped by Thor, or at least he lets go and falls into the void or whatever. He feels like, fuck Asgard, they're not my people. And then that's what makes Infinity War's little payoff so good as well. But like he opens with zapping people with his like scepter thing, throwing like knives into people's necks, and as Black Widow made clear, he killed 80 people in 2 days. He like digs that device into a guy's eye, and he tears down Black Widow like furiously while smiling, and all this stuff is really hard to brush away with, well, you see, it wasn't that he enjoys causing pain, it's that he enjoys being seen as strong, and he is kind of a good guy, actually.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know if he's like yet a good guy, even by the end of the season. But what I do actually really like about that first episode is getting to see that slideshow. I know obviously like there is an element to it that's like we're just watching the older movies. I get that. But I was trying to sort of like contextualize it from your own perspective, and I do think if you were like as arrogant as Loki, and you really like you say to people openly like, "This is what I'm going to do. No one's going to stop me. This is who I am," and then you get played a video of like your decisions lead to your mother's death, like you might reconcile with Thor, but 5 minutes later, this terrible decision you made like very recently is going to come back to bite you. Like you think you're this god, but here's a video, and this is like canon, isn't it? Like they tell him that like this is the way it went. So when he's watching that, he's not watching that thinking, "Oh, this could be like a a definitely maybe." This is like this is the end of the road, and I just think like that would be certainly for anyone, no matter how narcissistic, would surely be like a moment of an impetus to change, right? Like you'd be thinking, wow, if I don't do anything different, this is the canon path I'm going on.
No, I'm not in any way trying to offend, but I believe that is what they want you to think. I believe that is the surface take for like the events as they're unfolding. But then when you think about a lot more of the pieces of information, it doesn't match. So he is being told.
What do you mean?
So he's being told about all of these events, and he's shown that this is totally true, under the concept that these people control time and space, under the three lizards that decide everything that happens. So what you're being shown as like your intentions failing and you cause your mother to die becomes almost irrelevant compared to, wait, people are forcing everything to happen the way they want it to? I'm just a pawn? That's the actual discussion.
Definitely.
Because like what relevance would it be to talk about your failings and what things led from what you chose to do when you're not making any choices at all? It's the lizards that choose one of your multi-trillion options as the canon one. Because at one point Owen Wilson's like, lol, you fail so much in the elevator, and Loki's just like, fuck you. But I'm just like, wait, wouldn't the response just be like, I never had a chance to succeed? Like, there was nothing that could have worked. I was always set to lose. In fact, the one time I did kind of succeed and get out of there with the teleporter, you guys pulled me in, like, no, you're supposed to fail. So I find this whole conversation, like, bizarre in the show. I'm like, why isn't Loki just like, fuck you guys? Like, you control everything. What am I supposed to do? Instead of him crying because he realizes that a lot of his, like, goals of hurting people lead to bad things. Because the second tier to this is I don't believe that he would believe any of this. I think that Loki would double down.
This must be a trick. He specifically says, like, this is clearly an illusion. This is some kind of a trick. Like, he doesn't believe it.
He thinks that at first, but, like, I think the way Hiddleston plays it, that scene where he's watching his neck get snapped, I think by that point, he believes
just because
this.
they're using a good actor.
Yeah, so this is the thing. I don't think he should believe it, even if he does.
Yeah. Because Loki is his personality would just to be, oh well, that's not going to happen. I'm going to change things. I'm going to do things differently. That Loki isn't me. I'm me, and I'm going to change because I'm going to win. I've still got plans, and this is discounting the entire fact that he shouldn't even be here anyway.
Yeah, we can probably talk about that.
Ultimately, I'd much rather see that character in any way. Just like I'd much rather see that Loki than the new Loki.
Well, the thing is that that's not the goal of the writers, because they want to get him working for the TVA by episode 2. Now, that again creates problems for me, because Loki, I don't think it takes a Loki to realize, right? If I told you, Jay, this is your whole future, I'm telling you this because I need you to work with me, person who controls time and space, to do things that I need you to do, instead of what you want to do, because I'm showing you that if you do what you want to do, it's going to be bad. Trust me. To me, it was just like, so you're showing me exactly what you think I need to see in order to work for you. Like that.
Yeah.
That it's sus, like super sus, and
Yeah, it's
Loki's
like-
super cunning.
So, but then I also think like Mobius. I think there's an emotional honesty to him, like even from the first episode, like when he's going to him, like, look at this, you're enjoying this, like don't beat around the bush with me. And I
so
think
something
he's,
Loki shouldn't care about at all.
but like I think he's not really had a friend like Mobius before. I mean, he doesn't have a lot of friends anyway. I actually wanted to bring this up actually when you watched,
Doesn't want him.
when you were pausing the EFAP. You guys were like, why did he cut to his mum when you said family? But I would wager like that's probably his only true friend is his mum. He's very Norman Bates in that sense.
Oh, I see what you mean. The thing is with Loki though that like he to me he's always had offers, but he stays away from it because he's extremely like he just doesn't trust anybody. Mobius is like literally the person I would trust the least. He is the guy. He's like the good cop of the TVA. That's how I would see him, and I think that's how Loki would see him. He'd be like, "You're full of shit. You're
Yeah.
clearly like your goal is to get something out of me." And they're successful for the
he's
most part until the supermarket scene.
It's interesting. I guess I really like that that conversation they have in episode 2 after they've come back from Pompeii, and when Mobius kind of like lays out his beliefs, and I just think like I can see why they gravitate towards each other, because for him to be so confident in the fact that he is taken care of by this TVA organization and he doesn't question, what else could I be outside of this life? Like this is just my purpose, and this is the way things are. And he's so like he's empowered by the fact that he believes, right? Whereas like Loki, the only thing he believes in is himself. So I think like the contrast there is interesting, and I like that. I think because he's never met anyone like him before. He's never had anyone.
Are
sort
they
of like-
alike?
I mean,
I don't think they're alike, but like I think he breaks down Loki in a way that like I don't think anyone like Thor or Frigga ever have before. And like I think it's really genuine. Like by episode 5 when they call each other friends, I'm like, yeah, like I buy that.
after he tortured him, I don't know.
I definitely don't buy it at all.
Well, I think the concern is that I think that the show thinks that it's reached that point, but the problem is that I'm kind of still stuck at episode 1 with the radical change in his character that I don't feel is possible. I just don't think it's possible. I think
Yeah, in the first episode, we have to totally reinvent Loki as a character
yeah,
to
so
even
I think that
begin
would
to
be-
give this a semblance of working as a plot.
So I think that's the thing, right? Is that if you accept episode 1 and that this is who Loki is, then yeah, I guess I can see all of the stuff that happens after that following, but
To some
I
degree.
don't buy it.
Especially
Yeah,
because
to
this is
some
like
degree, but-
2012 Loki, and a couple hours
think that's-
ago he was like
yeah.
invading New York.
I would argue,
I think
yeah,
that's
2012 Loki is the
interesting,
peak
yeah.
of his evil. Like that is when he's
Also,
pretty much
yeah.
committed.
Thor, yeah. More so than in Thor. He's
Yeah, even
he's
in
big
Thor
evil
2, you
and-
can tell he's coming down. He's like,
Mhm.
and then Thor Ragnarok he switches almost like but it still takes ages to get him to do it, and it's all lived experiences.
Multiple
It's not him
movies, yeah.
watching movies. Yeah,
that would be the big difference as well, is that there is a difference between. Are you familiar with South Park? Like, have you seen a lot of South Park?
Not an awful lot, no.
So there's an episode where the whole gist is that people from the versions of the kids from the future come back in time and they're like addicted to drugs, and the whole point is that it's like a big scheme that was cooked up by like the parents to try and scare their kids out of doing drugs, and that whole gets unraveled by Cartman, and he's like, I have this, like, I've been doing this business, I've been working on maybe I should like try and improve myself as a person, exercise and eat better. And then this guy says, I'm Cartman from the future. This is the day that you turned it all around. And like his immediate thing is, no, fuck you, you're lying. I'm gonna do whatever I want now. Like, I'm gonna do it to spite you. And I think it's that whole idea of like, if I get told, oh, hey, I'm from the future, these are all the things that you're gonna do, I think my immediate instinct would be, nah, you're lying. Like, I don't trust you.
I get that, but
and even
then like I mean I know you guys don't like this scene, but obviously before he sees like so he's getting shown parts of his life. He doesn't trust them, granted. Then he sees that they have all those Infinity Stones, he then feels like they're the greatest power in the universe, and then he then
True.
returns to the slideshow. And I feel like,
Yeah,
do you know what I mean? Like,
so
maybe he could die that it's a lie before the Infinity Stone scene, but afterwards.
the question
Having power
isn't
doesn't mean he should trust them.
the question isn't
Yeah.
whether or not he should think that this is a possibility. It's more so to do with, wait a minute, I know that they control the future events. I know that they have the power to do whatever they want. Why should I believe that this video is true? And then even if he does believe it's true, why would that make him convert to a completely different character rather than simply doubling down or being angry that his plans don't work and that it's possibly these guys' fault because they never let him win?
Yeah, like
And if he
potentially
believes that
his
all of this
plans-
is an illusion that's trying to trick him, why would seeing something convince him?
Because
There can be degrees of how much he trusts this, right? Like, I think, if someone put on a slideshow right now of like the next 2 years of my life, and it's all a complete shit show, and like my mum dies, I get killed by a big purple space alien at the end, like if someone said, yeah, this is definitely going to happen, and then someone else in the room went, well, I don't know, maybe it's 50-50. I still think seeing those images, realized how they are in the show, would give you cause to think about who you are as a person, no? Like,
Oh, that's
but
bullshit.
would it in the
Absolutely.
context of creatures that can just do whatever they want?
how do you mean, like? in the context of creatures
So as
that
far
do
as
what they
Loki
want?
knows, these guys, they're more powerful than space and time. So
Sorry, I was
like,
laughing at something else.
so like, if they showed me anything, I'd be like, I think you're showing me whatever you think you need to show me to get me to do something. And then they're like, we need you to work with us to capture a rogue Loki. I'd be like, oh, well, there we go then. That's the only reason you show me all of this. You're trying to trick me into helping you get me.
Loki more than anybody else would think that.
I think that's the big issue, is that Loki's thing is specifically tricking people. I feel like, especially 2012 Loki, his mindset the whole time would be, this is like, you're tricking me, you're trying to screw with me.
Especially when they're like, yeah, Loki, you're destined to lose. You're always, and it's just like, you literally have lost one of me and you need my help to get him. It's like, apparently this is the fucking King Loki.
But I don't think
That's
he
true.
necessarily like trusts the TVA by the end of episode 1, or thinks maybe they're not
Also-
going to still trick him later.
This is the interesting thing. A friend of mine was like, no, that you're getting the complete wrong read. Loki is now committed to, he's pissed at the TVA and he's going to destroy them.
And he's going to destroy them and trick them.
Because he doesn't believe that all this is his future and that he's going to change it and stuff. And I was like, that sounds really interesting. I hope that's actually the direction he's tricking them all. But then we get,
Well, I could totally see that though, because like,
well, so he has.
I get he wouldn't necessarily trust them maybe, but he also, like, what other choice does he have within the walls of the TVA? Like, he can't use his magic. He can't take anyone on. Like,
That's what I wanted to see. I want him to tell them what they want to hear and then to plan things. Now,
Yes.
unfortunately, as we progress through the episodes, there's so many pieces of evidence that they've committed to. He's had the change of character. Episode 1 is the moment, and that's how people talk about the episode. Episode 1, where he's tearing up in the room alone. This is him changing. This isn't him seeing it, becoming angry, and making a plan to subvert it. I don't know what you think about this, but like, Loki believes human beings and just average people who aren't even Asgardian and to a good degree not himself are like worthy of subjugation. He is their lord. They need him to tell them what to do, and he'll kill people very casually. Doesn't care. On Lamentis, when they know she's told him the whole world is going to be destroyed and there's one ship that's trying to get out, we might be able to use its power source to get the tempad working, or just get onto it in general. He says when they arrive, he's like, they're going to leave all these people to die. It's like, the fuck?
Yeah,
That's
who the
something
fuck
he
are
would.
you?
Loki would never say that.
Yeah, Loki doesn't give a shit.
And I think to say
do
that,
you mean like Loki's never capable of that, or that that specific Loki isn't capable?
so
If
I
you were
think
going to have him care about that, you were going to have to work your ass off, and it's going to take a lot of time.
I think they earn it in Ragnarok that he cares about the Asgardians, but even then, he's doing it under the context of, I am your savior, you will follow me, I will get you out of here. But that's also his home people, his family, the place that he actually likes. These are random aliens, and he
It's
like
a very Loki way of being a hero in Ragnarok.
Yeah, I love it
versus
because
it's hero. He's a good guy. He's concerned about the welfare of other people to the exclusion of his own well-being.
yeah,
I don't
and
feel that's Loki that we know.
what I like about
Yeah, I
Ragnarok
remember-
is that it proved that he as a leader for Asgard is ill-suited. It's what Thor told him in, I think, Avengers, actually. And that was proven to Loki in Ragnarok. He was a shit king. But then by the end of Ragnarok, he finds an alternative, and it's working. and then he feels comfortable at Thor's side. Like, I love that. The arc is great between them. I think it's really solid. But Loki, the show, is rushing it like crazy, and I to the point where I've had whiplash now. I don't even know who I'm dealing with anymore.
I mean, fair enough, because I honestly thought like the progression from episodes 1 to 6 was fine with his arc. I shared a lot of the same concerns as you going into it. I did think like back in 2018 when Loki was killed by Thanos, I thought that was the perfect ending for him. He needed to die. He needs to get his comeuppance. I don't need to see that character again. And I was worried that it was going to be like a lot of retreading. But I just really enjoy that idea of taking that character we already knew and seeing that set path.
So they've just
and kind of
sold you on
taking
the
it.
idea, the concept, because
Well, I
it's very,
suppose so,
very
but-
poorly executed. Shockingly bad, in fact. It's one of the worst character pieces I've ever seen.
Well, yeah, we consider it quite
disagree.
an assassination. We're
Like,
very
it's
frustrated with it.
It's fucking horrifically bad.
Right.
Like, doesn't we don't? It's like it is one of the worst that's probably ever been done, as far as my memory serves me.
I don't know. I think Natasha's might even be worse.
Oh yeah, it's in Natasha. I think maybe it's more. Yeah, I guess it's because it's so just black and white and blatant. Yeah.
Watching
Fair
him
enough.
like tear up and exasperate when Owen Wilson gets pruned, like, genuinely surprised me. I feel like not only would he not have those feelings for him at that point, which obviously I feel like you're going to be different on that, but that Loki wouldn't express that way in front of people he considers to be his like arch nemesis sort of thing. He would just get furious. He'd be like,
Loki knows to keep his emotions hidden if he can.
and then because I'm gonna try and run through a couple, right? So there's the he's so busy professing his love for Sylvie that he gets backstabbed. Like, damn.
Loki, like, man. Well, and that's almost like a second parallel issue, is how insanely depowered and stupid he is in this show.
Every fight scene outside of the TVA, he just doesn't use his powers effectively. He never
He
uses
basically
his
never uses
illusions.
his powers.
Yeah.
They've never been consistent with Loki. It actually really bothers
No,
me
no,
in
no,
Ragnarok.
no. He is super nerfed in
He's
this
just not
show.
using them.
He's crap.
In because even in Thor: The Dark World, he uses his illusions to fake his own death. It's like, oh, that's pretty neat.
But then
Avengers.
in like Ragnarok, he says to Strange, like, "Oh, you think you're some kind of sorcerer?" And I'm always thinking, well, like, who are you compared to Doctor Strange? We've seen Doctor Strange do way more powerful things.
Oh, you're right.
Like he's just like kind of does the illusions, and that's kind of it.
That's why I believe Strange outpowers Loki. I'm fine with that.
Mm.
But I'm not fine with Loki being outpowered by random humans.
Yeah,
That's-
a bunch of random guards with batons. They shouldn't stand a chance.
I think
They
that's
should
big
not have
thing
a hope in hell of beating Loki.
because remember,
But we don't know
Loki-
like what their actual durability and capabilities are, which
They're
I guess, like,
people-
you know, maybe that's a failing of the show. Maybe they should say that.
They're-
But I must
they're-
admit, like, it wasn't something that bothered me too much.
I
They're just
think-
people.
I think that
They're
show
just people with
needs to-
sticks. He's
'cause we know that
Loki.
they're just- we know that they're just people, so I think the show would need to give us something else to indicate otherwise, especially when we know that Loki withstood being pummeled to death by Hulk. Oh, not to death because he survived it, but like a normal human would be jello after that.
Oh yeah.
But we know they have like lots of different powers and capabilities that go well beyond Loki.
Who?
So like, I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility to
Wait.
suggest, like, do you know what I mean? Like,
Well,
when they're all
um,
suited and booted.
when?
Well, so
The TVA.
what about the train guards then?
Not the individual people. They just seem to be people with batons and some gadgets.
Well, and you remember,
the
like,
whole reason
like-
Loki gets captured is because he lets that one chick just like hit him with a stick, which is
Yeah.
already like, what the fuck are you doing, Loki? You're Loki.
yeah, like you
you
recognize,
have
right,
a
that
Tesseract.
had he done a simple illusion, which he always does, that wouldn't have happened, and they wouldn't be able to get him. He'd be invisible.
Yeah, like I've said during our coverage of it, like if the TVA showed up here in my room, I would shoot them with my gun, and that
And-
would be it.
And they'd die.
And
yeah.
they would die, and that's done.
And apparently
like, the
they've taken
TVA
on Titans, vampires, and Skrulls, and I'm like, I don't believe that.
I don't believe you. Y'all are
But I
shit.
can imagine that they have like infinite different variations of time travel technology that they could use in those situations. Like, and
So
also, I
that would
kind of
just-
like that. I kind of like that there is kind of an element of incompetence to the TVA. You know, like
It's
kind
not-
of like the Time Lords, as much as they are this incredibly powerful force, and they have like an infinite amount of Infinity Stones. They also, Loki runs rings around them in the first episode. Like they're
Does
very
he?
regimented in structure. Yeah, like he teleports around, doesn't he? And then they're like trying to catch him.
Because
And then
he just
he
steals
ends up
one of
back
their
in the-
gadgets in a
Well, 'cause
situation he shouldn't have been in to begin with.
Yeah, he just snatches it when you'd think, like, shouldn't there be maybe a biometric lock on it or something that just automatically anyone who's wearing the neck brace can't operate the technology? Like, it's the TVA.
The show simultaneously, it's like the Black Widows, right? They have to be two things simultaneously: an incredibly deadly, powerful force, but also insanely incompetent in everything that they do and are shown to
Defeatable
do.
by our
Yeah.
protagonist.
Like, don't tell me you control space and time. I can shoot you with a gun and you'll die, and I can escape the TVA forever.
Which is reflected again in their current technology. They print paper, they look through folders and files when they should have technology that's further advanced than anything Stark has, because they regularly visit.
But I kind of like that about it, like from a design perspective, because
So out of curiosity,
everything.
What you like about it, is it strictly the aesthetic?
No, not at all. No, I just like about like specifically the TVA having like paper and these kind of like old kind of Kubrick, Douglas Adams looking like rooms and stuff.
Why?
Well, so again, would that not be the aesthetic? You like that's how it looks and that's what it is, rather than like any functional reason. So for example, I love the way Rapture looks, and if someone was like, do you just love the aesthetic? And I'm like, no, I think that's how it would look in a lot of ways. For a place that is built underwater in the 50s with insane amounts of money and manpower that probably wouldn't have existed back then for any single person.
It makes a lot of sense.
But also has been run down. There's so many elements to all of the different rooms that come across to me like, oh my god, this is not only lived in, but it's been aged up and abandoned for X amount of time. I can totally believe it. It looks so good. Meanwhile, I'm just regularly confused by the TVA. I'm like, why are they using technology that's so backward for like what they do? Especially when it's like, we need you to, look into an assignment. Here are all the files to search through. Like, why isn't this on a computer? And then later in the episodes, when they actually need to find something quickly, they have a digital filing system. And I was like, oh, so, okay. And yet
Sorry, go on.
And yet they print out everything everyone says and store that on files as well. And then they have everything to do with Asgard is stored in like this one dinky folder compared to just the dialogue from Loki, which fills like 10 folders. It's so confusing.
I think the aesthetic of the TVA kind of reflects that they seem unassuming. They don't seem like they would be able to take out someone like Loki. And then when they do, and they sort of talk about like, I guess.
No, absolutely.
I'm assuming, there's no real, because unless they get the jump on him, like they appear and go, and he's just like, whoa, okay, you got me. Instead, they turn up and they seem to not even know where he is. They're like, there's a variant. Oh, it's this guy. Oh, there he is. Yeah. It's like, damn, Loki could have killed all of you by now. And he could have taken your temp pads, and that's that. Because it's not a shock to me that Sylvie would have escaped them. But then
if he was little girl Loki, he would have been able to do that. But god of Asgardian god Loki, he's not. He can't do it.
So would you prefer that they, like, the aesthetic was like hyper technological and like super futuristic?
It'd certainly
So
be more believable.
what would impress me is if they got a designer to combine the a sort of feel or atmosphere of this 60s tech, but everything is super advanced and useful. So you maintain as much as you can of this goal of making it look that way, but everything functionally that has to change to match these hyper advanced aliens that control space and tech. Like, that's what you got to do. Otherwise, it's all incongruent as far as I'm concerned.
The paper could literally be like a screen, and that you're looking at paper, and the stuff that's displayed on the paper changes. That could be cool.
Yeah.
And it looks
It would be
it's
really
printed
cool
on the paper.
if they
Have it
had records of Loki through time, and they're scrolling through, and it goes from paper, like a stone, to paper to blah blah blah, and they're just like, yeah, this is we contain all records of recording things in our records, which is an umbrella record, and it has access to everything because that's how high tech they are.
Yeah, once we get to the TVA levels of Masters of the Universe and Space and Time, you just indistinguishable from magic is the level of technology that they should essentially have. Not physical
But
paper.
they are in like a magical reality. So like I don't mind that it looks lo-fi. Do you know what I mean? Because like
the argument would be that that the technology that they have at the moment is stuff that would it hinder them to use.
Yeah. We see it hinder them to use it
to an extreme degree.
We see that. That's not like a possibility that happens. They are hindered by it.
Fair enough, but again, I do kind of like that there is kind of a bit of an incompetence to them, as much as they are so powerful.
Why do you like that there's an incompetence to them?
Because I think like the way it's kind of riffing on like organized brutality and like police brutality and that kind of stuff with the TVA, and like the way they're deliberately meant to look that way, and it's very authoritarian kind of stylings. I just think it's kind of like talking. It's kind of riffing on the like those regimes that actually were incredibly unorganized or were incredibly incompetent. Like like anything with like an organized kind of. Does that make sense? I think I've word salad here.
So that's all meta.
Well,
that's all out of
No, yeah,
universe
it's
stuff?
yeah,
It doesn't make
it's
sense
metaphorical, but
it
Um,
doesn't
like
make
these
sense
stories
in
are like
universe, it doesn't make sense.
but these stories are ultimately like a conduit for talking about what the writer and the directors want to talk about.
I don't care what they want to talk about.
but-
It's what they present and what they show.
Wouldn't
that
you
matters.
want
But
it?
that's the rub, right? Though, like, is I think, like, I see where you guys are coming from, but
If you want to talk about something, it has to make sense in your world. You
So I
can't
guess
just
you
say,
wanna-
"Oh, but thematically." Well, I don't
What-
care if thematically.
When you
It
see
has to be
them,
supported.
when you see them using something, essentially what you've got is that at some point they've made the decision, or maybe not even an active decision, but at some point a process has occurred that has led to them using that thing. And the natural question that a lot of viewers will ask is, what was that process? So at some point, did they decide that I would like to go to the 1960s and use, grab some filing cabinets and
Yeah, I guess like specifically 1960s America aesthetic to style the TV. Yeah, it's kind of
I'm
a
like-
question of how do
the
we
question is
get
like,
here, you know?
when they have access to everything, why is that the decision they make?
Why?
And like ideally, you should be able to go for the
Superhuman-centric.
aesthetic. You should be able to go
So-
for the aesthetic and the theme that you want to strive for,
I-
while also having the decision that they made be one that you can understand as a viewer when you think about that kind of thing. Like
I
that's
think
we can achieve all three of those things. Hopefully,
I think that's the big thing is like I really like the aesthetic from a very personal level. I think it looks really cool and I
Well, so do
get
I.
it.
Yeah,
But
it looks neat.
we need to do the work to in universe explain why it is this way. And when there's stuff in the universe that makes it seem like if I was running it, that I wouldn't be making these decisions. At that point we start to wonder like, like it feels incongruous with this world that we have. Like the story that it's like a mismatch between the story that they want to tell versus the story that the universe and the sequence of events up until this point have actually boxed them into telling, and they just didn't care to reconcile that issue.
And if you want to compare it to like real life dictatorships or totalitarian regimes or whatever,
That's
then
really fine. Like,
I think, and I understand I understand what they're going for there, but I don't think they've gone the right way around striving for that with their technological limitations, because that's essentially going, that's essentially like seeing a totalitarian regime in real life that has full access to like heavy artillery and machine guns and cool all the artillery they could possibly want, all the ammunition, all the weapons, and for some reason they've armed themselves with bows and arrows, and it's never clear why.
And if it's like, well, there's incompetence in these sorts of things, it should be like, that doesn't.
I don't believe that level
That's-
of incompetence.
Yeah, it's not quite the same as like a mismanagement of maybe fuel getting to tanks, and it leads to fuck ups in that regard. Versus, because it's funny you mentioned the weapons. Like, yeah, they all use batons. Like, we all expected they would have rifles. It's like, why are they not rifles?
And so if you wanna do incompetence, like there's still got to be essentially a consistency to the incompetence with the way it's executed within what is the way in which these characters are incompetent, and how have they reached that incompetence? How is that demonstrated within them? How it needs to be essentially congruent with, because when we look at a lot of I guess writing teams is the perfect example to go for right now. You will see kinds of incompetence in writing teams, and you can generally figure out what things do they get right, what things do they get wrong, and why, at least to an extent. Whereas with
And
the
there's also-
TVA, from what I understand about it, going to admit, I've not watched this fucking show. I'm just riffing off what you guys are saying.
Don't.
But from what I understand, it seems like they have a incompetence, but one that is not understood easily by the viewer, which
Yeah,
is
it doesn't
the change
make
I would want to make.
sense. It's not just
It's-
like a bureaucratic sort of like logistic top down kind of, incompetence to them. It's like at every level of the organization, they're just doing everything stupidly.
Like, I assume if it was understood that this was like an incompetent thing, this was a problem within the organization, that you might have a higher up who's made a decision that they think that makes sense to them, but then the staff who have to deal with that decision, who have to like arm themselves with batons or whatever the decision is, might get frustrated with that decision, and you would see the different like arms of the industry working out of sync with each other.
Well, I suppose so, but like, I don't think any of those changes being made would make me enjoy the show any more or less personally.
Well, that's
And I know you guys feel
fair.
different, but I don't know. I guess I kind of see where you're coming from in sort of sense of you want these things to have an internal logical consistency, and
Yeah.
if it doesn't pass that bar, then you're kind of not interested,
Well,
or at least
it's-
You can't
my-
sacrifice the
my
logic of
sense
the
is
world
always-
for an aesthetic or
my
for a
sense
theme
on that
or a
kind of
feeling.
thing is always that like I can get into it if it doesn't have logical consistency. Maybe I can, maybe I can't. It really depends on what it is and just how I'm feeling about it and what else the show has to offer. You know, all of those kinds of stuff. But when it comes to the end of it, at the end of the day, there's no harm in having it there. I would always rather watch something. I would always rather have something be logically internally consistent rather than otherwise, because it is. There's no reason not to have it. You know.
I
in the
guess
same way that, like, unless
to
you're
reframe
doing like a parody or a desired effect. In the same way that I always want the camera to be in focus, and if it's not in focus, I might be able to enjoy the show. But like, unless they're deliberately doing something with the camera being out of focus,
Army of the Dead.
what's going on here?
Well, I guess to put it another way, you wouldn't. It's unlikely that you would be upset if it made more sense than it does. Like, even if it managed to retain the aesthetic, like it's unlikely that your enjoyment would be harmed if it was made more sense.
No one has ever
universe.
said it just made too much sense.
And
And
like,
then
none
I-
of us are gonna sit here and tell you that you have to enjoy it less because it's not
Oh,
entirely
yeah.
consistent.
And I'd be curious to, in every episode when he returns to the TVA, it's a different era. Like, it could be the 20s, 30s, 40s, it keeps changing around 90s, and everything reflects that technologically and stuff. But no characters acknowledge it, and I'd be like, I wonder if that'll make you enjoy the show more. It would make less sense, to be honest with you. But I wonder if that would just make you enjoy it more, because it's just like, oh look, they're doing the 40s now. I can totally tell. Oh, it's the noughties. I totally recognize this tech. They got flip phones, stuff like that.
What films and TV shows do you guys like that you feel like connects to you emotionally, but the internal logic isn't bulletproof, but you kind of let it pass because you like the story or the characters that much?
The Nevers.
Okay, is that the recent thing, the HBO?
Yeah,
Like, I haven't checked it out.
that's probably a good point from Rise, actually, because I like the Nevers, but there's plenty of us we can pull it apart in lots of different ways.
A lot of
I
plot
just-
issues, but great character work, awesome dialogue, good aesthetic.
Yeah.
So that's kind of like the benchmark. Like the Nevers, you feel like it does those things well enough. Even though you recognize
I like the show,
these,
but
like,
it's got a lot
these
of
holes and
problems.
inconsistencies.
Yeah, like
Well, I mean,
if
it's
Loki
always a
were
sliding-
if Loki were exclusively in character and the dialogue was top notch in Loki, I think I'd be able to forgive a lot of the stuff with the TVA. I'd be like, well, that's complete fucking nonsense. But I enjoy watching Loki
But
deal
at
with
least
it.
we have Loki.
Yeah, because like in
Well,
a
I guess
sense,
in that sense, though. Sorry, go on.
I was just gonna say, so in a sense, like watching the character be consistent and deal with this insane plot line is still like that, like so that's still a through line of storytelling.
Yeah,
even if the
it's
world
a
is
rock
nonsense.
in a sense, and you could kind of like it's a rock in a stream. In that I think that's what the MCU kind of needs, is that everything is just becoming everything else. There's no through line
It's all
anymore.
waving around. Yeah, because if they switched
It's
from the
all
20s
just-
to the 30s to the 40s to the 50s, and every time he came back, he was like, "What the? Is anyone noticing this?" And like all of the workers are just like, "Huh?" And he's just like, "Flip phones." It's like, Jesus. Those are just comments like, and if I watch him stay cunning, stay intelligent, but at the same time he's commenting on how nonsense everything is, I'd probably be able to deal with that much better.
So, do you guys kind of at least see, even if you don't agree with my enjoyment of the show, that all those kind of like
Well,
logical
you can enjoy
inconsistencies,
it
they
if you
don't
want.
bother me. They don't bother me because I
totally-
enjoy the show that much. You see what I'm saying? Like in the same
Well,
way you
yeah.
enjoy the Nevers.
I'm not.
Yeah, like, we understand your perspective. We just want to talk about like.
Yeah, I'm not asking
What?
you to change your enjoyment. I'm asking if you concede
I know.
that. So, for example, you're like, I really like the aesthetic, and I'm like, but do you agree that it's completely non-foundational? Like, it's just there to make you say that. That is it.
I suppose it could be tied closer to, as you guys saying, like the backstory and the creation of the TVA and why it looks like that. But ultimately, like as I said, it doesn't bother me
There
enough.
is no tie.
I don't enjoy the
in any way.
series.
Well,
fair enough if you think that, but it doesn't
No, it
change my
doesn't.
enjoyment.
So no, yeah, cool. Because I was gonna say, like, if it did, and even if there was room to say that it kind of could work, it could be to do with when it was in. It's like, well, it was created by Kang in was it the 31st century or something?
Yeah.
So that
For
can't
a-
make any sense
yeah.
unless Kang just has this fascination with the 60s, and it's just like, why wouldn't you have implemented that at all? Like,
I guess I mean I don't know how Jay feels about this, but I guess it's kind of a holdover from Doctor Who. Doctor Who does that all the time. There's like something that looks really old, and like they've used a different aesthetic to try and like cover the budget of doing like an alien world or an alien spaceship.
Well,
So I guess I'm just kind of desensitized to that.
I mean, there are some times where I can't think of like. What do you mean? Do you mean like the example that's popping into my mind is the Sycorax ship, which is like this big rocky thing and they all use swords. And I
Yeah,
would say
or-
we never. And I would like I'm fine with that, but I think that it's integrated into the story pretty well. And that
Well,
like
like
the
trap
technology is
street.
just indistinguishable from magic. The Sycorax stuff, we just don't know how any of it works. The trap street is I mean, that's all like been cobbled together from stuff they found on Earth, right?
But it still looks like an old kind of like Victorian
Well,
street, or
it's-
whatever, doesn't it? And
It
then there
is.
just happens to be a few...
It is. It's a street in the middle of London, right?
But is it supposed to be that? Like, do you not think it's weird they haven't updated it at all? Does that
I don't see
does
why
that
they
not bother
would.
you in the same
mean,
way?
I think there's a conversation to be had about whether or not it's internally consistent. But I think that there's a lot of potential there for there to be a good reason for it. I'm sure that there are examples in Doctor Who of there just being no reason for the aesthetic and like no spring to mind right now, but like yeah, there's loads of stuff where the aesthetic doesn't match what really doesn't match the aesthetic in Doctor Who is whenever a character regenerates and they've got full makeup and full hairstyles in, I'm like, what the fuck is that about?
Yeah, David Tennant comes in with his hair gelled.
And honestly, I don't like that as well. I would prefer it if they essentially like, they don't regenerate with makeup on or they're hairstyled. It seems strange to me.
Well, I guess that's a kind of a good example, right? Of like the thing in universe. It's like, why would that be the case? And the answer is like, oh, it wouldn't be the case. And then you look at that and it's like, oh, that's a problem, right? But then you'd be thinking,
Yeah.
well, it's not like
But
it's
like,
not really
huge-
consequential.
It's not a
in like
it's not
Doctor
a
Who, it doesn't really
consequential
impact the
problem,
story at all. It's never
That's-
impacted the story in Doctor Who.
Yeah,
So
so
I'm like,
that's
I'm
kind of
able
what
to-
I'm getting at.
and it's
Right, it's
also
like-
it's not really like an aesthetic that I like. I don't
Sure.
enjoy. I don't get more enjoyment out of it. If it was
So
something that I
that's-
thought looked really cool, then I guess I would understand. I would understand it as a trade-off, I suppose.
Yeah, so that's
Even
that's
though
kind of
I would wish there was a justification.
that's kind of what I'm getting at there. Is it's the whole thing of like you can identify that that's a problem. And it's not really a big one, but because it doesn't really affect the plot. But like in universe, it's kind of flumpy a bit. But like if that's like a preference and that's cool, and I don't think that there's an issue with like not being able to or sort of recognizing that there's like potentially an issue there, but still enjoying it. That's not really
Yeah,
like
like-
the and so on a more grand scale, it's like so with the TVA's aesthetic, it's like it is a really cool aesthetic, and I get if somebody likes the aesthetic, and there's really nothing that can like be said to make somebody not like it if it's something that they enjoyed. It would just be trying to sort of separate that enjoyment of it from thinking about how much sense it makes in this universe.
Yeah,
Yeah.
if we're all on the
Like how
same
well
page
it's
that
written.
there is actually nothing to support why they are in the 60s aesthetic, like that's the end of the conversation then for me. I'm just like, oh yeah, okay, if you agree. But like
Yeah,
if you
yeah,
said,
that's-
well, I
that's
still
totally
like
cool.
it, I'd be like, yeah, that's fine. I kind of like it too.
I mean, I guess there could be a stronger reason, but again, I think like a diet of Doctor Who for years, where like a lot
Maybe.
of the logical consistency is bullshit, like 90% of it. I just think, like when I
Not-
come into something
not
like
much.
Loki,
You're gonna trigger Jay.
acclimatized.
There's
No, but, like-
there's plenty of problems, but there's a lot of stuff that's justified as well. Like, as in,
a
again,
lot of it is the Doctor just sort of like explaining things away. Like, you know, when there's like Gwen Cooper, Eve Miles, she's in Doctor Who before, right?
oh
And
yeah,
she looks
like
exactly the same.
reusing actors, yeah.
Yeah, and like, you know, there's no logical reason for that except for the Doctor saying, "Oh, it's genetic multiplicity, right?" And then like you're just expected, like you get no textures to that. You just like go, "Oh, okay." The Doctor said some bullshit, whatever. Like they just want to move along because it's not ultimately that interesting why they recast Eve Miles. They recast Eve Miles
Yeah.
because she's a good actor.
That's-
Do you know what I mean?
It doesn't affect the story. You know, it's just like here's a thing that I don't know if the TVA using 60s technology affects the story at all.
It does.
I again haven't seen this show.
So,
But,
just a quick rundown, right? So the way that they file everything is incredibly inefficient. It's going to cause them just general. Like, I'm surprised that they even have a limit on their warehouse or whatever for
like,
storing
it
things
also
across
it does
time and
affect the
space.
world building as well.
That too.
There is
Then
the
there's
world-building stuff.
their technology is
big-
incredible and simultaneously like cavemanish. Like they have the ability to hit you with something that slows you down in time, but nothing else. They have the ability to zap you into future, like to erase you, and they're attached to sticks. What are you doing? And this
Just like
causes
the
them
stuff
problems.
that-
Like a little girl defeats them because of this.
So like stuff like in Doctor Who where you've got the Sycorax, for example, which is like a spacefaring alien race, and each of their soldiers carries a sword. Like we never see what they actually do in battle. We don't know if that is like, you know, if that is the weapon that if they would charge like if like that's fine, but the point where if you then saw an army of them land and then charge like a human military force with their swords and they all get like shot down, you'd be thinking, okay, why is that them? Why are they using swords?
You mean like so swords? The swords could be ceremonial. They could be a part of culture.
Yeah,
like
like-
we don't know.
As in, we see and as in even in the episode, as one of the swords gets a ceremonial use, like they talk about like ritual combat with a sword. So you're like, maybe, you know, the soldiers have there's plenty of room for you to think maybe the soldiers each carry one for that reason, or maybe they're fucking swords with like some technology in them that means they have like they do blasts or something. I don't know, you know. There's your mind is free to run wild with just what you see on screen because ultimately it's a background detail that doesn't actively contradict anything.
And
Um,
and if you're wondering like what is going on here, like what's the obsession with figuring this stuff out? It's just like we look to try and celebrate the people who do work to justify all of this stuff from the ground up in ways that are not even overt. They just have it casual dialogue or you know, environmental storytelling for why these things are the way they are, versus
I
people
love
who go
environmental storytelling.
60s
missed opportunities.
aesthetic would be really cool and I just want it. And so there it is. And it's like I just
Yeah,
think
I
that
guess
there's
So that's why they have it.
Well, I appreciate that
They-
you think about these things and that like you want to discuss these kind of like finer points. And I do think it's interesting. And like, you know, like, I think there's a level of it to, you know, to it that you're right. Like, why don't they just have rifles? I totally get that. But it
because
doesn't
that impacts the plot like it should at
yeah.
least.
But you know, as I say, I mean I sound like a broken record here, but like it ultimately doesn't change how I feel about like
No,
the
that's fine.
characters and the
Yeah, that's fine.
emotionality.
don't ever feel
Yeah,
like you have to concede your feelings are now different at any point. I'm literally just asking you if you see the same thing I do when I say something
Yeah.
like